Nearly 8 years after Kevin Smith was arrested on drug charges in New Orleans, an appeals court found that he should be released and that the case was dismissed after prosecutors violated his right to a speedy trial because he was arrested 8 years prior, but he wasn't convicted 8 years prior. He's never been convicted of anything. He just spent all of that time in jail. Now, that was last fall. But even until right now, there still has not been justice. He's still in prison to this day. And this is an incredible story that thankfully I saw Sean King has been doing some digging on this, communicating with the family of Kevin Smith and trying to get the word out about it to get something like justice, because as it looks right now, Kevin Smith might spend years more in jail for a crime he has never been convicted of. But I want to walk you back through this story to see how justice has been so perverted in the case of Kevin Smith. In February of 2010, police in the New Orleans neighborhood of Carrollton raided a home where they said a 43-year-old man named Kevin Smith lived. Police claimed that they found small baggies of cocaine in a safe in the home. According to Smith's attorney, however, Smith did not actually reside at that address, which seems like the sort of thing that could be confirmed after 8 years, but perhaps not. He was arrested on drug charges nonetheless. Because of a previous conviction, the DA's office had the ability, even though Smith was just facing a nonviolent drug charge, to prosecute him under a repeat felony statute in the state that would lead up to 20 years in prison. Because he theoretically could have done some cocaine? I mean, that by itself, if that was the only thing here, that would seem like a huge perversion of what should be justice in this country. But it goes worse than that. Smith has never been convicted of the crime that he was arrested for that cocaine. Smith sat in jail for the rest of 2010 and all of 2011. He was locked up for all of 2012 because his defense requested continuances several times and the court was closed due to Hurricane Isaac that fall. Then he was in jail for 2013, 2014, and 2015. In 2014, he was offered a plea deal. They'd let him go on time served if he would plead guilty. He refused, probably because he feels he didn't actually commit the crime that he'd already spent years in prison for. And so he stayed for 2015, 2016, all of 2017, until finally, in November of 2017, the judge in Smith's case granted a defense motion to quash the indictment against him. And so it sounded like finally there would be justice at that point, but there has not been. Thankfully, the family of Kevin Smith reached out to Sean King, I believe on Instagram actually, which is interesting, that's the modern world we live in, and said this: "Good morning, Mr. King. Kevin is still incarcerated. He was released from Orleans Parish prison. However, the parole board is holding him until March 4th, 2022. The Orleans Parish district attorney was very sore that he was not convicted, so Kevin believes that he has something to do with him being held on the parole end. He had been in jail since February of 2010. Kevin is currently being held at the River Correctional Facility, which is, not for nothing, a private prison with a profit motive to keep him in there as long as possible."
And the reason that they're holding him is because he didn't change an address or something. It's some ridiculous clerical thing. I mean, truly, there is no justice associated with this story, meaning there is no wrongdoing that has been proven that is associated with this story. It is obscene on so many levels. And then you're right, at the end of it, he's shoved into a private prison, which is clearly associated with profit. But it's heartbreaking to see this year after year, and the family of Kevin Smith is begging for some kind of justice. There can be no justice now. This is a life stolen.
Yeah. Again, even if, okay, so the pleading, the deal to plead guilty and then you get released for time served. They already dragged him in there for some other previous crime that was, I'm not sure what it was. You mentioned it was probably pretty.
The cocaine?
No, that was what they did.
Had a prior conviction.
There's a prior for that. So think about how that system works. We're gonna drag you in because there's something prior that we had about you. You say you plead guilty to this now and you serve what now, 8 years or so, 7 years for it now. And then so think about now when you're free. You have this on your record because you plead guilty. Then after you then say in the future they want to round you up again. Hey, you pled guilty to something back in 2018 that you served all this time for. What did you do then? That doesn't get put in as an asterisk that he pled guilty so he can get out. It was in this, he pled guilty because he did that stuff.
Yeah.
And now we get to continue to round you up. You have this record, you don't get a job, you can't even make anything of yourself, you're a pariah in society. All that is admitted. That's another reason why you say, no, I'm not gonna agree to you just rounding me up and continue to do this. So then in response to that, you take that as an insult as a prosecutor. we've heard about the pride of prosecutors, like, no, we're not gonna let this guy out. We're gonna find a way to continue to drag this through a legal system and keep him locked up until he understands we control him for no reason. Last thing, I heard Michael Caputo, who was part of the Trump campaign, keeps complaining about how he has all these legal fees. As he's on Tucker Carlson's show last night complaining about it because, that's what people usually who have been dragged through the legal system have to do is go on Tucker Carlson's show and complain about it. I had to raise a GoFundMe page. My kids can't go to college the way I told them they're gonna go to because I'm paying all these legal fees just because I was associated with a crime administration. This guy's complaining on TV about it. But while this man in Louisiana, tell me his name again, Kevin Smith is sitting in jail. He's not on TV complaining about how he's getting run through the legal system and has no money to pay for it. But we're listening to guys like Michael Caputo, and I can't say the words I want to say about him, complain on TV every day about it. But this is our legal system providing one person with a voice and nothing for anyone else. Yeah. He's going to be in prison until 2022. What are we going to do about it?
No, you're right, and you're right. There's prosecutorial ego and aggression that is unchecked and continues to be sort of baked into the system. The reason they want him to plead guilty for time served is because their numbers are helped by that, right? That's a check. Okay, we were able to get a confession and admission of guilt in that case. It's wrong, and I'm so glad that JR mentioned the ripple effect when it comes time to reconstitute your life, right? Now you're out of prison after 8 years. How the hell are you going to restart your life? It's hard enough. You've been behind on everything from technology to your family life. You have no group of friends. You have no connections to help you begin any kind of professional relationships that might be able to begin to build an economic viability to your life. Add to that, you pled guilty to a felony. Yeah. It makes total sense that he would push back on that.
It could be that if he didn't plead guilty and then eventually they find that he was held all these years for nothing, maybe they have to pay him some money or something like that. But if you can get him to plead guilty, then you're probably absolved of anything like that.
Quickly on the paying money, they also do that. I had a guy on my podcast, 23 years behind bars, falsely convicted of murder. He was exonerated through the Innocence Project, and then the state of California has held up compensating him for more than 10 years. He still doesn't have his money. Why is that? Because, again, that's prosecutorial aggression, and they don't want to write that check. The state of California, even knowing that he's innocent, doesn't want to write that check.
And we forget about it. We don't keep hearing that story.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
Heard, he was awarded $1.5 million.
But not did he get it.
Never hear the end of that.
Yeah. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.